All right, everybody, it's that time of the week again. It is Saturday morning, and the Seahawks are playing Sunday afternoon. And this is what they call a get right game. This is a get right opportunity where you're coming off that embarrassing loss against the Ravens, where nothing really worked. Very few players on the team played well, and you just get embarrassed. You get punched in the mouth. And it happens sometimes. You hope that it doesn't, but realistically, it happens every now and then to even really good teams. But the question is, can you get back up the next game, the games after that embarrassing game? That's what we're trying to figure out in this one. Playing a flawed team, not a bad team necessarily, maybe, depends on who you ask, but a flawed team at home with an opportunity to go get right and move on from what happened last week. So let's talk about how the Seattle Seahawks can get it done against the Washington Commanders. So, first of all, like I said, you're going to be playing this game at home. You're not traveling 3,000 miles to get to Baltimore to play this game, nor are you traveling 3,000 plus miles to get to Washington to play this game. So, right then and there's a level of comfort getting to play at home compared to having to play on the East Coast. You've got that going for you. You've got the fact that people have been wondering about you this whole week. You've had people in the media, people on YouTube, people on the internet, all kinds of people wondering about Geno Smith, wondering about Shane Waldron, wondering about Pete Carroll, wondering about Clint Hurt, wondering about this defense, wondering about this offensive line. So this week should have been a week where all of these players and coaches were really on top of things because they hear that stuff and they know I got to prove the doubters wrong. I gave the doubters a ton of ammunition with the way things went last week. Can't let it happen this week. We're going to make sure nothing like that can happen this week or hopefully ever again. But especially coming off that kind of game, you just expect the team to respond in a certain way. And honestly, if they don't, you have to really start to question things. Like, if Pete Carroll can't get the team up to perform well in this game after what happened last week, you have to start questioning his abilities to coach. If Shane Waldron can't recognize the issues with this offense last week and correct them this week, you have to question him. If Geno Smith can't look at the way he played last week and correct those things for this week and play much better, you got to start wondering about him all the way down this entire team. You can play that game. So that's the main thing that I'm looking for from this game. Can you respond to embarrassment and criticism in the right way? So this Commanders team, I don't know if they're bad, but they're pretty close to it as near as I can tell. This is a team with an inconsistent offense. The offense is on a hot streak right now. I will say that. The last two games they played, they've mowed up and down the field like it's nothing. And they have a really bad defense that has traded away two of their better players. So this is a very flawed Washington team. Let's start with the side of the ball that everyone's really going to be watching, our offense against their defense. Washington's defense has been terrible this year, like significantly worse than the Seahawks defense, if we're being honest. They're bottom three in points allowed, they're bottom five in yards allowed. They've been especially bad against wide receivers, especially number one receivers. DJ Moore had the 3 touchdown game on them. AJ Brown's torn them up twice this year. There have been a couple other games like that as well. Number one wide receivers have been tormenting this team all year, which is interesting because I actually like their corners. Benjamin St-Juste has proven that he is developing into a good player, like I thought he was going to coming out of college. I remember scouting him and really liking St-Juste and Kendall Fuller. So the players are not bad, but the product as a whole is producing a defense that is getting destroyed by stud receivers. So right away, I'm looking at DK Metcalf, who has been really not doing a heck of a lot the last several weeks, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a great opportunity for you to go off, silence the haters, silence the people who want to trade you, and make your fantasy owners happy and make Seahawks fans happy, even if it's just for a week. a week of happiness is better than none at all. So I'm looking at Metcalf. I'm looking at Lockett as well. I'm looking at anybody who plays receiver on this team because this Washington defense has not been able to stop opposing receivers at all. And that was with them playing most of the season with Chase Young, who's having a really good year, and Montez Sweat, who has been a consistently solid player for ever since he entered the NFL. So I look at that and I go, you should be able to make music with your receivers in this game. It shouldn't be like last week where it took you 20, 25 minutes to get a target into DK Metcalf. It shouldn't be like the week before that when you were targeting DK Metcalf over and over and over again and you just couldn't hit him. What was it? 5 catches on 14 targets. So get right. That's the bottom line for a guy like DK Metcalf. And not that Tyler Lockett has anything to really get right from, but the point is this game is ripe for the pickings. However, that does not mean we need to betray our clear identity as a team on offense, which is running tight end heavy sets. Hopefully Colby Parkinson can play, but if not, you've got Noah Fant, you've got Will Dissly. These guys are good players. Get them on the field a lot. Run 2 tight end sets over and over and over again until other teams show you they know how to stop it. Run the plays that you know work. Run the pistol formation plays. Run play action. We have evidence, plenty of evidence, that in the NFL you do not need to have a good running game for play action to work. The only thing you need for play action to work is to run play action. So get back to the things that work. Yes, use your receivers in this matchup because Washington has proven they don't stop it well. But you need to start getting back to the things that worked as well. And that means Fant and Dissly on the field. That means JSN, I'm sorry, but you've got to become a little bit of an afterthought in this offense until we figure it out. Until we're able to utilize JSN well, it's just not going to work. So get right in that regard as well. You've got to find the right way to balance this. You've got to find a way to balance the fact that we have very talented receivers with the fact that we don't have a very good offensive line and we are at our best utilizing multiple tight ends. So Shane Waldron, get right. And of course, the guy who is going to be orchestrating everything, Geno Smith. This is your chance to get right. At a certain point, Geno Smith has to defend himself. I defend Geno Smith because I believe that he is capable of being a good quarterback. In fact, I think that if you put the right situation around him, he can be a great quarterback. But at a certain point, the things that I say don't really matter that much. Because what matters is his performance. What matters is that he goes out there on game day and he defends himself with his play. And when you're playing this Washington defense that has been so bad against the pass, that has stripped away most of their pass rush at the trade deadline, you've got to perform. You've got to go out there and actually earn my defense. At a certain point, I'm not going to do it anymore. There will come a point where if I see you continuing to play poorly and I believe it is actually on you and not your circumstance, I'm not going to defend him forever. So this is a great opportunity to go out there and defend yourself. You've got a great matchup. You've got a game where your offensive line probably won't be able to hurt you that badly because of the neutered pass rush. So, Geno Smith, get right. And don't forget about balance, of course. Understand that we do need to run the ball, but also understand that you need to run the ball well. It's not enough to just say we're going to run the ball for 2 yards a carry. You need to run the ball effectively. You need to find the plays that work. And right now, with the offensive line being as banged up as it is and not playing effectively the way that it is, I talked about this before. I don't know what's going on with Damian Lewis. I don't know what's going on with, to a certain extent, I would say even Phil Haynes. But you might need to start running to the outside here. You might need to try to find a way to be creative with your running game because the standard A gap, B gap stuff, it's not really working that well right now. Until you can find a way to make it work, you might have to get a little creative with this. We might need to see some fly sweeps. I know you want to use Eskridge. Fly sweeps are how you use them. And Yeah, that's really all I can say about this offense. This is the side of the ball that everyone's going to have their eyes on. You're playing a bad defense. They do have good players in some areas. They've got Darren Payne, they've got Jonathan Allen, although honestly, neither guy's been playing like an all pro. This offensive line has shown capable of making guys look like all pros. So you do have certain challenges to overcome here, but it is a bad unit that has been playing very poorly this year. Justin Fields destroyed this Washington defense. And since that game, they have done nothing but lose key players. So make it happen. So that's the offense. I feel good about this game. I'll say that. I think the matchups are in our favor. I think the fact that they've had to deal with this whole week of people wondering if these guys are legit is going to play in their favor, and they're going to go out and do the things they need to do to perform at a high level. So I feel good about this offense. The defense, I'm not going to say I feel badly about it, but I am very aware of the fact that Washington is doing some very good things on that side of the ball, and they are peaking right now. They have over 900 yards of offense over the last 2 weeks. Now, they're not really scoring as much as they should be given that yardage output, but that offense is moving. And you got to give it up to Eric Bieniemy for what he's doing with that Washington team right now. I think he's doing a great job working with some good pieces, but also some really lackluster pieces, and finding a way to make the offense as productive as they are. Collectively on the year, they're just okay. They're around middle of the league. But right now, against the last two opponents they played, they've been humming. And I'm definitely aware of the fact that if this defense comes at it the same way they did against the Ravens, it could be bad. So to a certain extent, yeah, this defense, get right. Washington is obviously quarterbacked by Sam Howell. Not really a good quarterback. He does make some plays. There are some positive things to him. I like some of the stuff he does with his legs. And when I say legs, I don't really mean his speed because he's not fast at all. He's basically got the same 40 time as somebody like Tavondre Sweat probably does, but he uses his limited speed very well, and he's somebody who will try to make big plays down the field. He will risk it. But with that comes two very stark things. Turnovers. He's turning it over. I mean, for as much as Seahawks fans complain about Geno Smith's turnovers, Sam Howell turns it over more than Geno Smith. And sacks. Nobody takes sacks like Sam Howell. So there are a lot of negative plays when it comes to Sam Howell. He's generating a lot of positive plays, especially lately, but he's generating these negative plays at an almost record pace. He averages more than one turnover a game, I think, and he gets sacked about 5 times a game. So you should be able to generate those drive killing or drive ending plays consistently. So pass rush, this is your opportunity to bounce back after last week basically not showing up at all against the Ravens. One sack and only a couple pressures total against that Ravens offensive line. Now, Washington's offensive line, there's some things about it that are pretty good. They've got good tackles. I like Samuel Cosme. He was one of my favorite guys in the draft a couple years ago, and he's playing really well at right guard. But they've got some weaknesses on the interior at left guard and center. So I think that our defensive line, this is big. You traded for Leonard Williams, and Leonard Williams did play well against the Ravens, don't get it twisted. But now he needs to actually play well in a context of making this team actually good. Because Leonard Williams's performance last week was kind of a lost cause. Not to say that it's his fault, but the defense played bad. And Leonard Williams, time to prove that you can be part of a great defensive effort in this game. Because you're going to have, I think, the softer matchups on this team. You and Draymond Jones and Jarran Reed. Because without Nwosu, I think this team is still kind of trying to figure out what they're doing at edge. Boye Mafe's been great, but I think they're still trying to figure out that other spot. They're trying to figure out the rotation. Do they let old man Frank Clark take the majority of the snaps? Do they live with Daryl Taylor's run defense? Do they try to let the rookie Derek Hall go out there? I don't think they have a good solution there yet. So the interior is going to have to play at a very high level. So Draymond, who really played badly last week, and Leonard Williams, and I would say Jaron Reed, who's slowed down a little bit lately. It's get right. And yeah, I think that'll mostly take care of itself otherwise. Bieniemy actually had a comment earlier this week saying that Seattle's defense is known for playing things straight up. They're not going to try to be too deceptive or tricky, so they're aware of that. So I do look at that and I go, they kind of know what they're getting into here, and Bieniemy's probably going to have some stuff ready to go to combat that. And I do think their offense will have some success against it. I do, because they are coached well and they do find a way to, and they have consistently found a way to, even against decent defenses, better defenses than the Seahawks, get at least some movement down the field. So they've got good receivers, although Curtis Samuel may not play. I think he will. I think Curtis Samuel will play, if we're being honest. I do think that Terry McLaurin is one of the better receivers in the league. You've got, like I said, Curtis Samuel. Jahan Dotson hasn't panned out, but he's still a good player. He's not as good as they thought he was going to be, but he's still good. And Logan Thomas has beat us up before. Logan Thomas has been a pain in our behind before. So, yeah, you don't come at this game the right way, that offense is going to be a big problem for you. So, I'm not expecting a brilliant performance by this defense, but they do have something to prove. I do think we should be able to handle their running game. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball that much on us because they don't have that dual threat quarterback. They do have pretty good running backs. The running game this year is not bad or anything, but I think we'll be all right there because they can't challenge us in the way that a team like the Ravens or even the Browns was able to. So I'm not too worried on that front. If we do get run all over in this game, then that'll have to kind of unlock a new perspective. But yeah, overall, I like this matchup for the Seahawks. I would go with something like Seahawks 31, Commanders 20. I think that our offense is just going to bring it, and they're going to get to that 30-point marker, and people are going to calm down a little bit after this game. I know there's no going back after what happened last week against the Ravens. That game exposed that this team has problems. But I believe that their problems are outweighed by the Washington problems when you take a look at all the things going on there. Get some turnovers, flip the game that way, and you should be good to go. Avoid turnovers yourself. Take advantage of the clear weaknesses on that Washington defense. And I think we're good. So yeah, I'm going with 31-20. If you don't win this game, it's time to start to really reevaluate things on a level that I haven't been willing to do yet. But I don't think it's going to happen. So I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Let's get this win.